Hi there. Of recent, a number of Cartsbridge members have been meeting on a Tuesday to study the Bible through the leadership of Ian McCallum. And it's from that studying that my favourite verse came to light last week. We've been studying the book of Acts, and you will know at that time the Holy Spirit came in chapter 2. And chapter 2 reads, "When the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly a sound like the blowing of violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that spread and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other tongues as the Spirit enabled them." Favourite verse, well-known verse that you're all used to reading. That's not the verse that I'm referring to that surprised me later on in the book of Acts, because that particular verse is about the Holy Spirit, which a lot of you believe was for those days, for those people. But in chapter 10, we read about Peter being called by Cornelius, called to Cornelius' home to share the good news. Now, Cornelius wasn't a Jew. The thing about this particular time was much, much later than Pentecost. Many years later, as much as 9 years later. And it reads, chapter 10, 44 to 47. "While Peter was still speaking these words, the Holy Spirit came on all who heard the message. The circumcised believers who had come with Peter were astonished that the gift of the Holy Spirit had been poured out even on the Gentiles. For they heard them speaking in tongues and praising God. Then Peter said, 'Surely no one can stand in their way of their being baptized with water. They have received the Holy Spirit just as we have.'" Food for thought. God bless.